Look, we need to talk about what Alex Smith just said about Shedeur Sanders and the Browns situation because this is getting ridiculous. Smith comes out and starts hinting at why Shedeur isn't starting in Cleveland, and suddenly everyone's connecting dots like it's some conspiracy theory. But here's the thing, maybe it's not as complicated as people think. Maybe it's just the Browns being the Browns. Shedeur Sanders sits on that sideline every Sunday looking like he's ready to ball out, and Cleveland keeps trotting out quarterbacks who can barely complete a drive without looking lost. The kid proved everything he needed to prove at Colorado. He turned that program into appointment television. You couldn't scroll through social media without seeing Shedeur making plays, commanding that offense, looking every bit like a franchise quarterback in the making. Now he's in Cleveland, drafted in the 5th round somehow, and they've got him buried on the depth chart like he's some project player who needs years to develop. Alex Smith knows exactly what's happening because he lived through it himself. The man spent his entire career being the bridge guy, the placeholder, the one who did everything right but still got replaced. So when he talks about development and preparation being the reason Shedeur isn't playing, you have to read between the lines. What he's really saying is the Browns have their reasons, and those reasons probably have nothing to do with football ability. Think about it, Dylan Gabriel starts ahead of him. Joe Flacco, who's older than some coaching assistants, is the backup. And Shedeur, the most exciting quarterback prospect Cleveland has had in years, sits 3rd on the depth chart watching this offense sputter through another lost season. Every incomplete pass from the starter makes fans scream louder for Shedeur. Every 3-and-out adds fuel to the fire. The energy in that stadium shifts every time cameras show Shedeur on the sideline because people know what they're missing. Cleveland keeps saying they're protecting him, developing him, making sure he's ready. Ready for what exactly? The offense is struggling now. The season is slipping away. What better time to see what you have in a young quarterback than when there's nothing left to lose? But no, they stick with the veterans, the safe choices, the guys who've been around the block. Meanwhile, Shedeur could be out there gaining experience, building chemistry with receivers, learning how to read NFL defenses in real time instead of from a tablet on the sideline. The whole situation screams dysfunction. You draft 2 quarterbacks in the same class, which already creates an awkward dynamic in the quarterback room. Then you keep a veteran around who knows he's on his last legs. Now you've got 3 guys competing for 2 spots, and the most talented one somehow ends up 3rd. That's not a depth chart based on merit. That's a depth chart based on something else. Something Smith alluded to but didn't quite spell out. Fans see through it. They're not stupid. They watch Shedeur warm up before games and see the arm talent, the accuracy, the confidence. They know what this kid can do because they watched him do it in college every single week. Colorado wasn't exactly loaded with NFL talent around him, and he still made that offense work. He still put up numbers. He still showed he could handle pressure, make throws under duress, lead a team when everything's falling apart. Those skills don't just disappear because you put on an NFL jersey. The Browns have this pattern of overthinking everything. They analyze and strategize and meet about meetings until they've talked themselves out of the obvious answer. Right now, the obvious answer is staring them in the face wearing number 12. Give Shedeur the starting job. Let him play. Let him make mistakes and learn from them. That's how quarterbacks develop, not by holding clipboards and watching other guys struggle. Smith's comments stirred everything up because deep down, everyone knows he's right. There's more to this story than what the team is saying publicly. Maybe they're worried about admitting they messed up the draft order. Maybe they're concerned about what it says if their 5th round pick outplays their 3rd round selection. Maybe there's politics in that building, egos that need protecting, narratives that need controlling. Whatever it is, it's keeping the best quarterback on the bench while the team wastes another season. Look at how Shedeur carries himself. The kid has legitimate NFL swag. He's not some wide-eyed rookie overwhelmed by the moment. He's been in the spotlight his entire life. His dad is Deion Sanders, one of the most confident athletes to ever live. Shedeur grew up watching primetime dominate, learning how to handle pressure, understanding what it takes to perform when everyone's watching. That mentality doesn't need more seasoning. It needs opportunity. Every week that passes with Shedeur on the bench is a week wasted. The offensive line isn't getting better. The receivers aren't developing timing with quarterbacks who won't be there long term. The defense is wearing down from being on the field too much. Meanwhile, the one guy who could potentially change the trajectory of this franchise sits and watches, probably wondering what else he needs to prove. He already showed he could run a complex offense. He already demonstrated touch, accuracy, decision-making under pressure. What more do they need to see? The craziest funniest part is, Cleveland acts like they're doing Shedeur a favor by not throwing him into the fire. But this kid doesn't need protection, he needs reps. He needs to feel NFL speed, adjust to the game, build relationships with his weapons. You can't simulate that in practice. You can't teach it in film study. The only way to learn how to play quarterback in the NFL is to actually play quarterback in the NFL. Smith probably didn't intend to create this much chaos with his comments, but that's what happens when you hint at deeper issues. Now, every analyst is speculating about what's really going on. Every fan is demanding answers. Every press conference becomes an interrogation about the quarterback situation. The Browns created this mess themselves by not being transparent. If Dylan Gabriel is genuinely better right now, fine. Explain why. Show us the film, make the case, but they won't do that because they can't. The truth is, there's no football reason Shedeur should be third string. This whole thing feels like one of those situations that looks obvious in hindsight. 5 years from now, people will look back and wonder why Cleveland wasted so much time. They'll watch Shedeur highlights from wherever he ends up starting and shake their heads at how the Browns fumbled this opportunity, because that's what always happens with Cleveland. They get close to something special and find a way to complicate it until it falls apart. The fans deserve better. They show up every Sunday hoping this is the week things finally click. They invest emotionally in this team despite decades of disappointment, and right now they're watching a potential franchise quarterback collect dust on the bench while the team spirals through another forgettable season. That's not development, that's negligence. Shedeur's time is coming though. It has to be. You can only ignore talent for so long before circumstances force your hand. Either the starter gets hurt, or the losses pile up too high, or the fans get so loud the front office can't ignore them anymore. When that moment arrives, when Shedeur finally gets his shot, Cleveland better hope they didn't waste too much time, because confidence is a fragile thing, even for guys who seem unshakable. Keep telling a quarterback he's not ready long enough, and eventually it starts affecting how they play. The whole league is watching this situation unfold. Other teams are taking notes, seeing how not to handle a young quarterback. Shedeur's handling it with class, staying professional, saying the right things publicly. But you know he's frustrated. You know he believes he should be out there. That internal fire is what makes great quarterbacks great. They don't just accept backup roles. They prepare like starters. They study like starters. They expect to play like starters. Smith's revelation, or whatever you want to call it, just confirmed what everyone suspected. This isn't about football. This is about organizational dysfunction, poor planning, and fear of making the wrong choice. So instead of making any choice, Cleveland just stays paralyzed, running out the same unsuccessful formula week after week, while their most talented quarterback watches from the sideline. The offensive struggles make it even more baffling. Cleveland's offense isn't exactly lighting up scoreboards right now. They're not protecting a high-powered attack by keeping Shedeur out. They're protecting mediocrity. Every game looks the same. A few first downs, some punts, maybe a field goal if they're lucky. Fans aren't asking for Shedeur because they're impatient. They're asking because what they're watching isn't working, and there's an obvious solution standing right there. What makes this situation even more frustrating is the wasted development time. Shedeur should be going through his growing pains now, learning the speed of the game, adjusting to NFL defenses, building rapport with his teammates. Instead, he's watching from the sideline, getting older without getting better through actual game experience. By the time Cleveland finally gives him a real chance, he'll have lost valuable development time that he'll never get back. The comparison to Alex Smith's career is too perfect to ignore. Smith knows what it's like to be the talented quarterback who doesn't quite fit the organization's timeline. He understands the politics of quarterback rooms, the unspoken hierarchies, the reasons why the best player doesn't always start. His comments carried weight because they came from experience, from living through similar situations, from watching how teams make decisions that don't always make sense from the outside. Right now, Cleveland is at a crossroads. They can keep pretending their quarterback situation makes sense, or they can admit what everyone already knows. Shedeur Sanders gives them the best chance to build something sustainable. He's not a stopgap. He's not a project. He's a legitimate franchise quarterback prospect who fell to the 5th round for reasons that had nothing to do with his ability to play football. Some teams would kill for that kind of value. Cleveland has it and won't use it. The truth Smith hinted at probably isn't some shocking scandal. It's likely much simpler and somehow more frustrating. It's organizational stubbornness. It's protecting egos. It's fear of admitting mistakes. It's all the bureaucratic nonsense that prevents good teams from making obvious decisions. Shedeur isn't starting because Cleveland can't get out of its own way, which is basically the team's motto at this point. Eventually, this story resolves itself one way or another. Either Shedeur gets his opportunity in Cleveland and proves everyone right, or he ends up somewhere else and makes the Browns regret this forever. Those are really the only two options. What doesn't happen is Shedeur staying buried on the depth chart while developing into the quarterback he's capable of becoming. That's not how this works. Talent demands opportunity, and Shedeur has too much talent to stay hidden forever. For now, all anyone can do is watch this slow-motion train wreck and wonder when Cleveland finally wakes up. Alex Smith lit the match by speaking his truth. Now the fire's burning, and the Browns have to decide how they're going to respond. They can keep doing what they're doing and hope it magically works out, or they can make the obvious move and give their best quarterback the ball. One choice leads to more of the same disappointment. The other might actually lead somewhere worth going. Time to see which path Cleveland chooses.